It's a whole lot more than recipes and wedding inspo. In fact, it might be just the secret marketing weapon your poor, tired business owner brain has been waiting for. Get excited, friend. We're talking about Pinterest today. But first, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Michaela Bucchianeri, psychologist turned copy coach, and I help you bring your in person magic to your online presence, attracting more of your dream clients with words that connect. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe for new videos each week. Now, I am a huge fan of Pinterest. In fact, I was on Pinterest before I was on Instagram for my business. And Pinterest has been quietly sending a steady stream of traffic to my website. But I don't want you to take my word for it. We are joined today by the Pinterest queen herself. My guest is Jen Vazquez. Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
Jen has been an expert in my corner, helping me tweak and supercharge my Pinterest strategy so that it continues to work well for me as the platform changes, as the world changes. And so she has very graciously agreed to join us and teach us today. So I can't wait.
So excited to be here. So, first of all, I just want to make sure that this is noted that if you have any questions after you've watched this video, you can always put them in the chat below, and I will come visit and answer any of those questions over the next few weeks. So, don't hold back. But just as a test to get some comments going, if you haven't already, I would love for you to put what you do. Are you a health coach? Are you like, what are you? And also, where are you watching from? Because it's so fun to see all the different countries and states within the United States pop up. So if you could do that first, that would be amazing. Should I dive right in?
Yeah, I think you should.
Today, we're going to be going over 2022 Pinterest marketing trends. This is really, though, trends going into 2023. But as you may or may not know, Pinterest changes a lot. In fact, I might say Pinterest changes more than Instagram, if you can believe it. So, my biggest piece of advice when it comes to Pinterest is make sure that you're looking at new videos, because if you're watching a video from even months to a year ago, sometimes some of that content can be old and you might be sort of doing a hack or a strategy that is old and it may not help you. So that's the first thing I always like to start with. And for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Jen Vasquez. I had a career as a division director at a Fortune 500 company about marketing business to business. And I left corporate America to go full time as a wedding photographer in 2009. I Pinterest came out in around 2009, and I loved it. In fact, I started using it. It was when it was by invitation only. And I grew my wedding business because of using Pinterest. That was like a big deal. And a lot of my business friends over the years asked me how I was using it and what kind of tips can I recommend for them to help them to start using it the same way that I was. And I'm talking years. And I kept saying, nope, I'm a wedding photographer. Nope, I'm a wedding photographer or a branding photographer. And I'm not doing a second business. Well, I finally buckled in 2018 and I have not looked back. It is very joyous to me to help people learn how effective Pinterest is at driving traffic and, more importantly, getting new eyeballs on your content, because not all social medias do a really good job with that unless you're doing a reel or something like that, on maybe something on TikTok. So today I'm really excited to share this information with you. And like most sort of classes, I will be talking about service based businesses pretty much, but this can also apply to any business. I promise you, your client is on Pinterest. I have yet to meet a single person or business that can't use Pinterest for their marketing. So bear with me as we get through this. And again, put any questions you have in those comments below. So today I'm going to be sharing 3 secrets with you, or hacks, however you want to put it. One is how to work an hour a week on Pinterest and how it can actually bring you more clients and build your email list versus other platforms where you are battling new trends, new algorithms, and things like that. The second one is I'm going to be talking about 2 ways to create pins which convert and your audience will want to share even if you aren't a designer or even tech savvy. And I'm going to also share what actually matters most on Pinterest going into 2023 also. You will learn the one thing which actually drives your traffic on Pinterest. So I'm really excited to get started. So I always like to start first with why Pinterest, because a lot of people go, yeah, I love going on there for recipes and, those 16-year-olds who are saving their wedding photos for their future wedding someday. But I want to talk about why you should use Pinterest as a business owner. There are over 400 million monthly users, meaning that 400 plus million people are active on Pinterest each and every month, and the number is growing. And so I can safely say that your audience is on there. 75% of weekly Pinterest users say they are always shopping on Pinterest, and users are in the mood to consume. According to the company's feed optimization playbook, people who use Pinterest weekly are 40% more likely to say they love shopping and 75% more likely to say they are always shopping. And shopping isn't just for products, shopping is also for services. 97% of the top searches on Pinterest are unbranded. Why does this matter? Well, it means that pinners are open to discovering new products, new services, and new ideas, not just the typical name brands. People watch close to 1 billion videos a day on Pinterest. So a lot of people didn't even know you could put videos on Pinterest when I talked to them. So not everyone, of course, associates Pinterest with video, but it is a growing vertical on the platform. Vertical means each of the different types of pins. 45% of people in the US with a household income of over 100,000 are on Pinterest, meaning people that can afford your services are on there, which of course is very exciting news. So I I know that Pinterest works for me, but I don't know that it works for me because people are saying, "Hey, I found you on Pinterest." Because one thing that always happens, always, is people will go onto Pinterest. This is sort of the life cycle, right? That sort of journey that a buyer is taking. They'll find you on Pinterest, they'll look at your website, and almost always they will look on Instagram to make sure you're a real person, right? Doesn't matter that we can put anything on Instagram, right? But they want to make sure you're sort of real. So in your sort of contact form or when they reach out to you in DMs, if you ask that question, how did you find me? 99% of the time, they're going to say on Instagram. And so I always say to take that next step and say, oh, great. Did you use a hashtag? Because FYI, we always want to know that. Or, were you referred to me? And this is the point when most people will take a very big sigh or it'll be real quiet and they'll go, oh, well, actually, I found you on your blog post or I found you on Pinterest. The problem is that most businesses don't ever ask that sort of second clarifying question. And so everyone assumes all their business is coming from Instagram. And that's not always correct. So make sure that you're looking at that. But the cool thing about Pinterest, as you can see here from my social feed, is that a ton of traffic comes from Pinterest all the time. In fact, I look at this each month in my Google Analytics, and I consistently see between 65 and 85% of my traffic is coming from Pinterest. That's super exciting. And that can also be you if you're utilizing it and utilizing it for a little while, right? It's kind of like a blog. It's not going to be instant success. It will take a little bit of time. All right. So To break down the lifespan of the content that you create and share, here is lifespans for 4 different social media platforms. So let's go ahead and start here. Instagram before Reels was between 24 to 48 hours for your post or story. It will last between 24 and 72 hours to have engagement typically, right? Since Instagram added Reels, there is a little bit longer like longevity, and that's about 14 days, which is not super great. And if you're anything like me, you probably spend more time on Instagram than you do on any other platform. And yet we're not looking typically at Google Analytics to see where people are coming from your website. And knowing that will help you to know where to put your hours in for marketing on which platform. All right. Facebook, a Facebook post is about 5 hours. And while a lot of people say they hate Facebook, which I totally get, it still drives a tremendous amount of traffic. So don't negate it necessarily. Just add it in as part of your repurposing so you're not spending a ton of time on there, but it does give you an opportunity to have new eyeballs on your content. All right, next is YouTube. YouTube is a bit longer. It has about 30 days plus. So it could be longer if you consistently share videos like weekly or every other week. Consistency is key on YouTube. And still, though, it's about 30 plus days. And then if you're going to look a little further, Pinterest is 3 plus months. And you can find this stat anywhere on the website, anywhere on the internet. And in some cases, like myself, years. Some of my pins, some of my posts that I've put on my wedding photography business Pinterest site, one of the top pins is from 6 years ago. Can you imagine making content and literally having new people find you from 6 years ago? It's quite embarrassing as a wedding photographer because, as you can imagine, my wedding photography has gotten even better over the last 6 years, but I don't discount it. People are still being driven to my website. So the only thing is, if you have like an open and close cart situation for any of your sales things, you can still put pins on there to drive traffic, but you want to make sure that you change that link once the cart closes to show a wait list so that you're not ignoring that traffic or having that traffic see a 404, which is an error, meaning it's going nowhere. That's really, really bad on Pinterest. So make sure that you're thinking about any content that you put on Pinterest, that it has a link that will be active, even if you change what the content is. You just don't want a nothing link because that's not good. Okay. So we're going to talk about ways to create pins which convert and your audience will want to share, even if you aren't tech savvy. Most of us don't want to waste time on Pinterest. We don't really want to waste time marketing it at all, but we do know that's part of what we need for our business. So we do want to share pins and get on with our client work. So here's a look at how many of my clients do that. I'm going to go over with you the anatomy of a Pinterest layout. This is a template that you could create in Canva. And at the end, I have a gift for you. And one of those gifts is some pin templates for you, Pinterest templates. But you want to make sure that each of your Pinterest templates have these things on it so that you are doing the best you can to be able to get as many people to see it and for it to have the best opportunity to see the light of day, right? So first, we're going to start with the obvious. You want to make sure that you have these things on your pin. So the first thing is a clear image. Pinterest is an image-based platform and a search platform, so choosing the right image is really critical. It needs to be clear and relevant and attention grabbing so that your audience doesn't keep scrolling but stops to focus more on your pin. Now, the Pinterest pin size is also important. Pinterest recommends a 2 to 3 aspect ratio, which is about 1,000 times with 1,000 and 1,500 pixels. So those are kind of what works best. One thing I will also go over when it comes to the image is it is better to take your own image with your cell phone than it is to use the free images like in Canva, because everyone's using it. Now, if you have a paid version of Canva, you can use the pro images. And when you're searching for an image that has to do with your content, like this, you could say typing on a laptop, right, in the search bar, but you want to focus it on pro images. It's, oh, I forget that word, but basically you can put a filter on it to just see pro images. I do say that those work okay, but the free ones, not so much. Also, consider putting your image on a pin or two. The focus for Pinterest is, though, fresh images. So you don't want to reuse any images on Pinterest. You can, but they're not going to get as many views as if it's the first time that image is hitting anywhere on your Pinterest account. And that's what's called a fresh image or a fresh pin. All right, the next step is to go beyond the pin. After you get your pin all set up, that pin template, and you're ready to go, make sure you include a destination link or your main website link at the bottom, the top, the side, wherever you want. It could be a whole lot smaller than all the other information, right? Because the title of your pin, you want to have the biggest font so that it's very clear what that pin's about and why they want to click, right? But including that link on there means that if for some reason that pin image, that graphic ever gets separated from the content, your title and your description, they know where to go to find this information. So, and they'll do that action. They'll, go to your email list and sign up or whatever it is. So this is very important. The next step is text overlay. Now, as a wedding photographer, that was the hardest thing that I had to do, was to put text over my pretty images. I just want beautiful images from my wedding and branding all over Pinterest. The problem is, like I mentioned before, especially wedding photos can end up on a future wedding board, which people are not even engaged in that situation. Where if you have a beautiful image and you have text that says Fortino Winery Summer Wedding, if someone's getting married and they've picked the venue, then you actually have an opportunity as a wedding photographer to actually have a client be able to hire you. Make sure whatever your business is, that you're going to make sure that that text overlay is telling them why they need to click. What are they going to see when they click? What are they going to learn when they click? That's what the text overlay is. So having a great image is wonderful, but you're missing out if you're not using the full opportunity on Pinterest of having that text overlay to get your message across. You want to make sure it's what the pin is about, or better, what the content is about when they click on that pin. And so you want to try to keep it to 3 to 5 words. You can have more words if you want, like I have in this situation, but still, if you look at it, it's very narrow in terms of exactly what they're going to find. All right, let's go to the next one. This is the one that everybody forgets. And marketing people are always telling you, make sure you have your call to action or CTA. That is the most important thing. People are very apt to do what you ask them to do. So having a call to action, in this case, learn more or buy now or whatever it is, anything but the word click here, because that's too on the nose. People will be curious and there's a little bit of FOMO, and they will want to see what that's all about, and they're more apt to click. And again, I'm sorry, I already talked about the image. It's a ratio of 2:3, which is 1,000 pixels by 1,500 pixels. All right. So there are 3 main types of pins that I'm talking about today. Standard pins, which are the pins that have been around since the beginning of time. It's a single image or a collection of still images with an external link. Then there's a video pin, which is a single video with an external link. And then there's idea pins, which you're hearing people talk about. When they came out a couple years ago in beta, they were called story pins. And then they more aptly named it when it came out of beta and went to everyone. And when I say everyone, that's the UK, United States, and Canada. It is still rolling out to other countries slowly. But if you're in another country and you're wondering what I'm talking about, that may be the problem. And idea pins are very much like reels on Instagram. They are ideas or stories or inspiration or education, and it's usually a video and some images or video clip. It could even be one video, but there are slides to idea pins, and the best way to really get more time and more clicks, more analytics, is to have separate slides versus one video, but you can do one video. Right now, there's no external link. However, in the end of February, Pinterest announced that they're rolling out links to idea pins, which we are all very excited for, that have been on Pinterest forever. And even people that are consuming stuff on Pinterest, they will get a little frustrated when they click on it and it doesn't go somewhere, because they're trained to click and go get that recipe, or click and go look at whatever it is that they're looking at. I have multiple Pinterest management clients. I have students in my membership, and I have 2 Pinterest pages of my own, and only one client has links yet. So it is still in beta and it is still rolling out, but I wanted to make sure, if this is the first time that you're hearing this, that you heard it from me on Michaela's channel. All right, so let me go ahead and show you. As I only teach organic growth, I don't teach Pinterest ads, because I feel like you don't need to pay for ads to really get some good return on your time investment. These are the pins that I use: standard pins, video pins, and idea pins. So idea pins are only available right now on Pinterest business accounts. So if you, for whatever reason, can't create an idea pin on your Pinterest account, it's probably because it's still a personal account and you do need to make it a business account. With a business account, you're also getting all of the analytic data, which you need when you're marketing to make sure that what you're doing is working, right? You can use idea pins to record multiple videos, as I mentioned, and all those things. Here are some ideas for idea pins: creating a step-by-step guide to a project or a recipe or an education of some kind, uploading multiple short videos with an additional descriptive text or text overlay, customizing the colors and the fonts of your pin, improving your targeting with topic tagging. So on the app on your phone, you can actually add Amazon affiliate links. You can add any kind of, most of affiliate links, so that you're getting credit when people click on that. You can curate a collection of products. You can tell a story in a brand new way. And there's a ton more. And you can also make it in Canva so that you can then just upload it to Pinterest. But again, if you want to, if you are tagging a client in an idea pin, or for wedding people, if you're tagging the venue or you're tagging any of the vendors, or you're using an affiliate link, you have to use the app on your phone. But you can do everything on the computer and then go and upload it to your phone to do that. The next one is video pins, and video pins are a great way to tell a more comprehensive story about your brand idea or project. Video pins have a cover image that captures your audience's attention with text overlay, and then they play in the user's feed, so that as you're going through the feed, when you first go onto Pinterest, you'll notice the ones that are videos because they automatically start playing, which is really cool. I recommend having text overlay on them, or so that people understand kind of what you're saying, because a lot of people listen with no sound. So same way that you would do it for TikTok or for Instagram. Pinterest recommends videos are between 15 seconds and a minute long, but the sweet spot, just exactly like Instagram and TikTok, is 6 to 15 seconds. You can even push it to 30 seconds, but 6 to 15 seconds is the sweet spot in terms of holding people's attention. And I always say, if you're short on time, just upload the whole video. Like, if it's a difference between 5 minutes of your time and 40 minutes of your time, go with the 5 minutes, unless you have, which I recommend, a dedicated 1 or 2 hours a week to do Pinterest, in which case you would have the time to do it. But if you're in a pinch or you're in busy season or you're full of client work right now, just getting pins up there is really, the consistency is way more important than having it be sort of perfect in marketing terms.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it fair to say Pinterest is a platform that rewards consistent progress over perfect execution?
Every single day of the week. Yeah.
Here for it. Love
All
it.
right. So, what is the best pin for engagement on Pinterest? That is idea pins. They have been around, as I mentioned earlier, for a couple years in beta. And on May 18th, 2021, Pinterest told us that they are taking them out of beta and changing the name to idea pins. And this is from Pinterest. Quote, this new access and capability will empower anyone with a business account to create inspiring content and better interact with their audiences, building more engaged communities directly on Pinterest. Idea pins give people more ways to share inspiration with up to 20 slides or 20 pages of video, images, and text. And on your cell phone, you can add even stickers and things, just like Instagram. In fact, Pinterest's intent is for people to take action and inspire them with ideas presented. Pinterest designed idea pins to have no link originally because people, when they are trained to click on it, when they click on it, they automatically are sent to your bio, your Pinterest bio, which is great because as a business Pinterest account, you have your website, as long as you've applied to have your website on there, is on there, and they can click and go directly to your website and just learn more about you if they're interested in that idea pin. At some point, there will be links for everyone on there, but for right now, there are not links for very many people. But just understand that it's kind of like Reels on Instagram. You have a better opportunity for engagement, interaction, and people really learning more about you and going to your website than any other pin. Video pins are about 7%, have 7% more analytic juice than regular pins. But idea pins, there's no percentage out there, but I'll tell you, they are incredible at providing good analytics, which means that all of your pins get that love. So let's go ahead and go here so I can really tell you all about it. So, idea pins have helped my clients in three main ways. One is brand awareness, then you've got increased follower account and a higher engagement. But all of those analytic boosts that you get from idea pins actually lead to all of your pins on Pinterest getting more views. And that's the key. There's a lot of analytics to follow. And while follower account is more of a vanity metric, just like on Instagram, right? I've seen so many successful people in business making millions of dollars in their business, and they have maybe 800 followers. So followers are not the end all be all, but having increased followers and brand awareness and higher engagement, that clicking on the slides, does lead to Pinterest, the algorithm on Pinterest, to trust that your content is good because people are spending more time on it than they are on other links. And idea pins, when you go to look at your feed, the first thing that pops up is idea pins. So that is the focus for Pinterest. I will tell you that. And so you definitely want to do them. They recommend to marketing people that are marketing on Pinterest to do one idea pin a month minimum. I personally recommend all of my clients have at least one idea pin a week. Again, you can repurpose Instagram Reels, you can repurpose TikTok. One thing I will say is after you make it, especially in Instagram, you can download it before it has that logo on there, and it does download with no music. But again, in your app, you can also add music to Pinterest. And so you can just repurpose anything you're doing anywhere else. You can take a YouTube video and cut it down to 15 seconds or 30 seconds of the juiciest bit of your YouTube video and put it on there with a link that goes directly to your YouTube, driving more traffic to YouTube as well. So it is incredible at driving traffic. Now, here is an example of less than a month ago, one of my clients shared this idea pin and got this type of analytics. On the right is a client that had this increase over months. It kind of picked up steam over months. And then looking at the middle shows how idea pins will spike your analytics. So consider doing them one a month. I personally, for all of my Pinterest management clients, I do 2 idea pins a week. That's how important I feel they are. But you can see that spike on that graph is when she did an idea pin. So it's very, very clear that they are really good for your analytics. And again, your analytics will lead to more outbound clicks to your content because people are interacting with your stuff and you're getting to be seen by new audiences. So people usually add a logo or a website on their idea pin. The problem is idea pins, Pinterest wants them to, in my opinion, Pinterest wants them to not have that content because they don't have links, or most don't have links right now. They want it to be pure education, right, wrapped up in that one idea pin. So if you have a logo or you have your website, now remember when I talked about the best pin, like how to make sure you have call to action, your website and all that stuff, that was for standard pins. For idea pins, you don't really want to use your website with an exception. My clients, so what I found with all of my clients is if we had a logo or a website on an idea pin, it got significantly less analytics, which told me, looking at all of my clients, that Pinterest doesn't like it. So I took off the logo, took off the website on that graphic of the idea pin, and analytics were way better. So don't put them in that content of the idea pin, the graphic portion of the content, but you can put them in the notes. So there is a notes section of the pin where you're going to describe everything they're learning in this idea pin. And then at the end, you can put your website right in the notes section. And don't forget that if you actually create an idea pin, save that idea pin, save it, and use it for TikTok or use it for your Instagram Reels. If you make Instagram Reels or TikToks, use it as an idea pin. You should not be making brand new, unique content for each platform. You really should be utilizing your great idea of the content that you're creating and use it on multiple platforms. That gives you the biggest bang for your time buck. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll through these because as you're watching the video, you can stop on them in an effort to save time on this video. But there's several different steps. These are the first steps when you're creating an idea pin. This is the next screen where you're going to be adding tools like, and again, this is on your app. You're going to be adding tools like your text and a background color and the details from the drop down pin. And then in the next steps, you're going to be adding all this content. And I want you to know, I want to see if you can see my blue thing on there. Yes, over here is where the link will be. So if you're creating an idea pin after seeing this video and you look in this section and you see link, then you got the link. Because one of my clients that got the link, she just started on Pinterest like 4 months ago. So it's not just people who are heavy users of Pinterest. They're sending it out to a bunch of different types of companies. So make sure you check that. All right. So now I'm going to share the juicy secret of Pinterest. What actually matters most on Pinterest in 2022 and going into 2023? Learn the one thing which actually drives traffic to your Pinterest, and that's keywords. So Michaela talked about consistency, which truly is the most important. But in terms of marketing your business and finding paying clients rather than looky-loos, that's all about keywords. Just like on YouTube or just like on Google when you're doing your blog posts, keywords are significantly important. If you just worry about keywords and consistency, you're going to automatically by default get really good analytics going. Keywords are the words, just to be very specific, keywords are the words that your ideal client is typing into that search bar in their browser or on Pinterest. And if you'll know when you do a search on Google, in the results, you're going to see Pinterest, right? So you have not only the opportunity to get seen on Pinterest, but also to get seen on Google when anyone's making a search, especially if you're using the right keywords. Now, try to avoid Instagram strategy. Do not use hashtags. They do not work on Pinterest and can actually, I have found of some of my clients, it actually hurts analytics when you have it. Now, if you have hashtags on old pins, I don't want you to go search for those and delete them or update or edit it in any way. Spend the time that you would normally do that creating new pins that don't have hashtags. Avoid industry specific keywords. Avoid using just one keyword and keywords that aren't about the content, right? Whatever your content is, those are the keywords you want to use. And I will add one more to that. You can use generic keywords like wedding photographer or something like that. But it is super helpful if you are using more specific terms. So, like wedding photographer for fun clients or adventurous clients, or whatever your business is. If it's about like for healthcare, right, then you want to use healthcare or health or whatever those keywords are that you have put together for your website. You're wanting to use those keywords also here on Pinterest. And you definitely want to find keywords that are popular on Pinterest, because you'll take the keywords you already know in your head from your website, you'll put them in the search bar on Pinterest, and there'll be a drop down menu. So you'll be able to figure out what is maybe a better keyword or a keyword that ranks better. And there's many other avenues to do that. But in an effort to save time, I'm going to move on. So, other things that are important on Pinterest: consistency, which we mentioned, and that can be 1 or 2 pins a day. I don't recommend like 1 pin a week. You're really not going to it's going to take so long for you to build up the analytics and driving traffic to your website, but 1 or 2 pins a day is totally good. And actually, what we've been finding with our clients is that there's a sweet spot if you have a ton of content to do between like 5 and 7 pins a day, but anything beyond that is not working as it once did. I used to pin 30 times a day because that's what we did, right? But that's not the case anymore. And make sure it's 100% your content, because your content is what you're trying to rank for, not somebody else's content. You want to create a smart and simple strategy and workflow that not only works for Pinterest, right, with consistency, but also works with your busy schedule. I know Michaela was doing, I think, what, 6 or 7 pins a day at one point, maybe 10 pins a day. And now you're down to like 1 or 2. And your results have been incredible.
Yeah, probably about a year ago, I was up to like 20 a day,
Mhm,
and a difference was that wasn't exclusively my own content. I was doing a mix,
mhm.
still predominantly my own original content. But yeah, now it's down to between 2 and 5 a day.
And I think you were talking, you tripled your analytics.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like
hello.
through the roof. Yeah.
And then the last thing is analytics. If you are not looking at your analytics on any of the platforms that you're marketing on, then you're missing out. I always say doing marketing without looking at the analytics is kind of like driving a car with a blindfold on. You might get from point A to point B, but you're going to be hitting a bunch of things. You're going to be going into roadblocks, hitting other cars. It is not an effective way to market your business. Even if you look once a month at your analytics and write it down, you'll be able to see areas that are increasing and decreasing because there's a natural flow throughout the year. You will have down periods and you will have up periods, and it depends on your industry and a whole lot of other things. But you don't want to feel unsuccessful with a drop in your analytics and you've been doing the same thing, unless you're using old ideas or old strategies, when it turns out that that's just your downtime of year, your seasonal low, as it would say. So definitely, definitely do analytics. I recommend about an hour a week of pinning on Pinterest could actually bring you more clients and build your email list, which, hello, is gold because you own that, unlike any other platform out there, and other platforms where you might be battling algorithms. So here's a simple sort of strategy or process that you could use just from listening to this education. Take a piece of content, which could be a blog, it could be YouTube, it could be a podcast, a lead magnet, or even a course, whatever your main content is. Create 3 pins that look different. They have different images, they have different text overlay, different titles, a different take. So I can have a summer wedding at Fortino Winery. I can have a winery wedding in winter. Like you can take and get 3 different perspectives on the same piece of content that you're sharing. Use Pinterest that in platform scheduler to pin your pins to the boards that make the most sense. So you have 3 pins, pick 3 different boards. So you have an opportunity to get seen however someone is searching, and use different descriptions if you can as well. Wait 7 to 20 days before you pin the same pin to another board. I would recommend to actually create new pins for the same content and pin those rather than repinning anything. Repinning is not working like it once did. If you have a pin that stands out and is amazing, you could repin that pin and make 3 new pins for that same content with slightly different text overlay. And because that's obviously rising to the top on your analytics in Pinterest, which means people are searching for that. So that's a simple strategy. And the best way to incorporate Pinterest in your marketing, the easiest way is to repurpose. So starting with that core content, YouTube, blog, podcast, email list, course, membership, whatever it is. And this is the content that you're going to create each week on a consistent basis. That's helpful for your blog. It's helpful for everything. And focusing on solving problems that your ideal client has, giving advice or inspiration or how-tos. So you have, I'm going to use a blog as an example. You have your blog. You're going to take that blog information, take different paragraphs from that blog, and you're going to go ahead and pin 3 to 5 pins on Pinterest. You're going to take 3 to 5 different paragraphs maybe within that blog and make it an actual social media post, right? It's great content. You might as well reuse it. Create an idea pin, and that can be turned into a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can make anything of it because YouTube has those shorts now. So I have a lot of clients that are using their idea pins as shorts on YouTube. Then save that idea pin as a video and then put it on there as a video pin linking to that core content. If you just do that each week, you're creating a core piece of content each week. You're putting it all out on all the social media platforms and you're done. Like that's awesome. If you can do more, great, do more. But I feel like that is a strategy or a system that almost any business owner can use. And then you're hitting Google and you're hitting Pinterest and you're hitting all the other social media platforms that you're on with the ability to drive more traffic to that content to ultimately book clients and make more money. So Now, I am going to go ahead and take some questions from Michaela, but also, once again, I will remind you, you can also put any questions maybe that you have that wasn't answered. Go ahead and put that in the chat below because I will come back and answer any questions in the chat also.
Isn't she fabulous? I told you, she is a wealth of information. And Jen, just thank you for being so generous with your education. I
My
know.
pleasure. I have a personal mission for every single business owner to get on Pinterest as a business. I just whittle away with different talks to make sure I'm doing my part.
Well, we right here in this audience, thank you. Like I said, I've been a fan of Pinterest for a while now, but I just don't hear it talked about, at least in the health and wellness world, nearly as much as some other platforms. And so I polled my audience and asked kind of what is their familiarity with using Pinterest for business. And it was about an even split between people that were like, huh? Pinterest for business, and people who were aware that that is a platform that they could be using, but either have not done much with it just because, like, one more thing, or have no idea where to get started. So, if it's okay with you, I'll just pop up some of the
Yeah,
questions that I collected. And the first
perfect.
one will not surprise you. It's like, I can't possibly create content for one more platform.
That's probably one of the questions I get the most. Yeah, I heard it's really great. I just don't have time. I would say with even with just the information you got in this education, you can just attempt it. It's just one or two pins a day and I'm sure you have some blog posts. I'm sure you have some content, YouTube, podcast, wherever it is, whatever it is. You can make some idea pins. Those alone will help you to start getting some traffic and getting some things like that. I am very big on repurposing. I feel like that's the number one secret to any very busy entrepreneur. If you have a focused plan or system to take that core content and repurpose it out everywhere, you don't have to make it look different, even. I promise you, nobody who follows you on Facebook and Instagram is gonna see that same post. Almost never. So, and if they do, it'll just reinforce the message. So, I get the overwhelm with running a business, especially as a solopreneur. But I promise you, the opportunity for traffic is unlike any other social media platform out there, as I showed you in this education. But it does take time to set it up as a business account, claim your website, all those little baby steps, but reach out and I'll be happy to help you.
As I said, I've worked with Jen in an intensive capacity on my Pinterest strategy. And so I have nothing but the highest praise for her and her work. So I'm happy to answer questions as well. And just to piggyback on that, I took a little sneaky peek of my Google Analytics before we hopped on this call. And right now, of social sources to my website, Pinterest right now is kind of neck and neck with YouTube, which is pretty
Typical.
incredible considering how time and effort intensive creating YouTube content is. Pinterest is merely sharing out what I've already created and it's still neck and neck with it. So the potential return is so huge.
Well, so Pinterest is considered a social media platform in Google Analytics,
Mhm.
but it is actually a search platform. And it is the third largest search platform behind Google and YouTube. So if you also have a YouTube and you're using Pinterest, you're going to win all day, every day.
And one of my favorite things about the way you teach, Jen, is the focus on not just becoming a whiz at Pinterest for the sake of it, but folding it into an existing, sustainable, manageable marketing strategy with an eye
With your
toward,
business goals.
yes,
Yes. Yes. So many people try to do the hack
yeah,
on Pinterest. And if you focus on your business and follow the rules that Pinterest outlines,
right.
that's it.
And one of the ways that we're benefiting, especially, in this audience, we talk all the time about your communication strategy and keywords being a really fundamental part of your copy foundation. And so the fact that you've told us like the secret sauce going forward with Pinterest is going to be really really thoughtful keyword research, we should be already doing that. And so, yes, maybe we tweak it a bit on the Pinterest platform, but you already, as you're putting together your copy bank, already have your keywords there. So you've already likely done this foundational work. And by the way, little plug, if you don't have a copy bank yet and you would like one, I hope you will join the free copy bank challenge. I'll link below. You can sign up and get instant access to that.
It is phenomenal. Everybody should be doing that. First of all, it's free, but it
Yeah.
is actually well worth your time. Juicy, 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 juicy with not a lot of time spent, but that little bit of time that you're spending can just do amazing things for all of your marketing. I would agree with
Thank you, friend. So,
that.
okay, next question. How long can we reasonably expect for it to take to get traction on Pinterest?
How long is it going to take to actually see a return on your
Yeah.
time investment is kind of what I'm assuming it means, because that was my first question. So Pinterest is because it's a search platform just like Google is, it's very much like Google. You do need to start pinning consistently with your keywords, and you'll see a really good return on your investment 2, 3, 4 months later. Just like blog posts, when you hit 6 months, you're really kind of in that stretch, if you're consistent, of whatever you're putting on is already giving you a return pretty quickly. Pinterest, just like Google, has to trust that the information you're putting on there and that they're clicking on and going to, they're not immediately coming back to the Pinterest platform because they know that, right? So if people go and it's not as promised in whatever that text overlay is or title or description, and they pop right on back, then Pinterest is not as trustworthy. So the more content you're putting out with the keywords that is for your core business, you should really see that return in about a 2 to 4 months. And you'll see an immediate jump in analytics just giving your Pinterest some love. But you do have to be consistent. And I have a client who went on maternity leave for 6 months, and she had followed everything for a year prior, and she was very consistent. She did nothing for 6 months and lost no analytics. I don't know if that would be true today because Pinterest has changed a little bit, but you can sort of lessen or lighten what you're doing through the holidays, even, and then come back and be consistent again. It's the most forgivable social media platform, I will say.
That's wonderful. That's so good to know. So, because this audience, we represent all kinds of different health and wellness businesses, some service based, I would say mostly service based, some product based, some
Yeah.
local, like brick and mortar business, some online. Do you have any specific tips? I mean, you've already made it clear Pinterest can be used for just about any kind of business, but any specific tips or things to keep in mind if you are, for example, wanting to market a therapy practice in a certain metro area versus health coaching where you can work with anyone anywhere?
Brilliant question. Actually, whoever asked it is super smart because most people don't think about that.
Mhm.
I work a lot with wedding photographers because that's kind of how I started in 2009, and I'm still a wedding photographer. So I'll use that as an example, but you can apply it totally for your business. Um, it is mostly local. If you're mostly serving people brick and mortar locally, you really, for every single pin on the text overlay and the title and the description, you want to use very specific keywords on your location. So, for example, I'm in San Jose. That's about 50 miles south of San Francisco. So I can say San Jose, I can say San Francisco because that's the big city in my sort of metro area. I could use the Bay Area. I could use San Francisco Bay Area. I can use Northern California, and I can use California if I'm willing to maybe go down south and photograph down there, because in California, that's about 6, 7 hour drive. So there's multiple languages and sort of industry location specific keywords. Like, a lot of cities have a 3-digit sort of code that people actually refer to where they live from DC or from whatever it is. Use every single location specific language you can. So in Within 20 minutes, I have about 7 cities, like literally that I can get to within 20 minutes in the Bay Area. And each pin, I'll use a different city or I'll use Bay Area, I'll use whatever. That is super awesome because a lot of people will discover you because they search for XYZ, whatever your industry is, San Jose, or XYZ, whatever it is. And you're going to come up if they do that on Pinterest. And guess what? You're going to come up if they do that on Google too, because Pinterest is in those results of Google. So if you're location specific, use location. I also am a traveling wedding photographer, but I only focus on those keywords if I have a wedding that I did in a different location, then I'm using those keywords. Unlike Instagram, where you can kind of use any cities to like try to get more eyeballs on stuff, you don't want to do that on Pinterest. So whatever your content is that you're putting out there, utilize the city that makes sense. If you have a blog post about some health thing, you can take 3 pins and have 3 different cities that are in your location for that. But if your content, like for wedding photographers, has pictures and content that is for that specific venue, then we would want to use the venue, or we would want to use whatever. If you're going to be speaking somewhere as an expert in your industry, you want to use the keyword for the name of that place you're speaking or the city where you're speaking. Like, so always when you're coming up with the content and you're locally based, even if you go somewhere else, you want to use the keywords, city keywords for wherever you're going for each of the content. The other thing that I would say when it comes to product based, or I'm also going to talk about like getting people to sign up on your email list. One thing you don't want to do because you won't get as much reach is like if you use ConvertKit and you use a landing page on ConvertKit, you're giving all your traffic to ConvertKit. And Pinterest, in my opinion, using my client experience and experience over the years using Pinterest, if I use that link that has ConvertKit in there or MailChimp or whatever it is that you use, it gets less views. And I'm a big believer on driving people to where you own. So if you own your website, which you do, have a landing page on your website and then you pull in from ConvertKit or MailChimp, whatever that form is. Same thing with product-based stuff. Now, on Pinterest, they're very big on sales. So if you use Shopify in particular or any other thing, you can use those links. And in fact, Pinterest actually sucks in your Shopify shop if you claim it just like a website. So then you can actually drive sales to that. And those are called product pins, and they don't cost you any money if Pinterest just does that on the back end. Because I'm not an expert on Pinterest in that product area, you might want to just YouTube and look up Shopify, setting up your Shopify account on Pinterest, and I'm sure you'll get a ton of good information. Again, when you search on YouTube, make sure you filter by the last 3 months, right? Because you want current information. If you get information from a year ago and it's about Shopify and Pinterest, you're going to get different information than what's going on today.
It's such helpful advice. It leads right in perfectly to a question that I have. I mean, not to put you on the spot too much, but Pinterest was in the news recently for their change in leadership, at the top. And I'm just curious, related to e-commerce, or if there's any kind of whispers, through your Pinterest sources of changes we can expect that might trickle down and affect those of us using it for our businesses.
Yes. So an executive from Google has now come to Pinterest, and the CEO to be a CEO, and the CEO of Pinterest has stepped back into, I think, an advisory board position, if you will. I don't have all the details right here in front of me, but everyone's panicked and freaking out and saying Pinterest isn't going to be showing my stuff anymore because I am not into shopping, because the person that's taking over is an expert on shopping and ads in particular. And so I will tell you that I'm not panic. Changes are going to happen. Changes will always happen on a platform. But one thing I know, because Pinterest has been around since 2009, is they always default to the best experience for a user. And every person on Pinterest is not there to buy. Now, they usually can buy and will buy even if they weren't planning, if they stumble across something that they love. That's the great thing about Pinterest. But even with idea pins, right? They came out two years ago ish, could be a little longer. They came out of beta last year in May, and everyone was angry because they didn't have links. They're getting links now. So the reason is not for us, sadly, not for us marketers on Pinterest, but because the users didn't like it. The users want to be able to click and go to wherever that content is to purchase or learn more. And so I know that Pinterest will always default to the user experience and what the users want. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't have new products and new services and new things on there that have to do with ads. And there's always ads on there. There's ads with idea pins now. But at the end of the day, without Pinterest users, Pinterest doesn't have a business. So I know they're not going to go, like some people were saying, oh my God, they're going to go to all ads. That's ridiculous. So don't panic and don't let it change the way that you're working on Pinterest unless Pinterest comes out with an announcement that says something, and then you can go to my Instagram account because you can bet that I'll be talking about it. I have a reel on Pinterest where I'm talking about that right now, and also on YouTube. So don't panic. Keep doing what you're doing unless you're told by Pinterest that there's going to be a change, and then go talk to a Pinterest expert and see what that means for your strategy. But ultimately, if you have your business goals and the rules, the way that Pinterest wants us to work, and you're doing both of those things, you'll still do well.
You heard it here, folks. That's so encouraging. Thank you. And relieving. It's like, just keep on. One of the most inspiring things I read about Pinterest way back when I was first getting on there with my business was that it was a write-up of some of the characteristics of a Pinterest user. And one of them was that Pinterest users are primed for discovery. That has to do with the search engine. And that is really good news for us. Being a consumer doesn't always mean clicking buy now, add to cart.
And it could mean down the road, maybe there's more ads and there's less of our pins out there to sort of be discovered. So analytics may change. Analytics, like you don't even want to look at last year's analytics to this year because they're so different on even what they're measuring. And so you may not be able to sort of look back, and things might be a little different. You might have to, work a little harder. But I always say, put out the content. Whatever comes to you is free traffic. So don't worry about it. And I know pinners, people that want to go and discover things on Pinterest, will not be happy with a ton more ads. So I'm just saying, I do think part of the reason why my personal opinion, part of the reason why he came aboard is because the numbers had dipped, which was sort of a natural dip from 2021, which is the height of Pinterest analytics for not normal reasons, right? It's the whole COVID thing. And so because of that dip, they wanted an expert to come in. Plus, the back end of doing ads can be very confusing and not as simple or understandable, I would say, as Facebook ads. Sometimes not even as good as Facebook ads. I'll be honest with you on that. This is why I only do organic stuff, but he's an expert in ads. So he's probably going to refine that system on the back end. He's probably going to make it easier so that more people do ads because it is easier, and maybe they can do something to have the ads work better and better like Facebook ads do. That's my belief in what that change was about. And also, change in leadership always means growth. It's uncomfortable at first. I'm sure Pinterest employees were like, whoa. And just like all of us marketing people on Pinterest are like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything for us unless you're doing ads. Right. And any changes that come along, we'll just adapt and pivot like we always do on marketing and social media platforms.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. All right, final question. If for the person who is now very excited and antsy to get going on Pinterest, what is one step that they can take
Yeah.
today to get started or to revisit Pinterest? What would you suggest?
I'm going to say three things because I think it's really important to do sort of all of these things. The first thing is to do keyword search on Pinterest, right? Take whatever keywords you have, see what different and new and different keywords there are. Have a keyword. By the way, on in the gift that I'm giving, one of the things is a keyword builder. So you'll be able to add keywords to this builder, if you will. And so keywords. Then the second thing that you want to do is optimize your Pinterest account, which means going from personal to business or setting up a separate business account. If you change your personal to business, make sure you hide, make secret all of your boards that have nothing to do with your business because it will hurt your overall Pinterest account. Pinterest looks at the overall account to know who to send your stuff to. So you want it all about what you teach, what you do, what you sell. And in optimizing your account, you're going to use keywords everywhere in the name, in the title, in the description, in the boards, in all of that stuff. And claim your website, claim Shopify if you have it. In the claim area, whatever you can claim it. That's it. That's a good start. And then you just use the Pinterest scheduler to schedule.
Fabulous. I'm going to pop up the link. This is where you can claim the free gift that Jen has been talking about. Highly recommend that you do. You might be thinking, what is left to learn about Pinterest? She's given away so much good information. But trust me when I say this is just the tip of the iceberg. She is such a wealth of information. So you absolutely want to take her up on everything she has to share. Jen, where else can people connect with you now that they're definitely going to want to?
Yeah, JenVazquezCoach.com. That's two Z's in my last name. People always get confused. JenVazquez.com. You can search Jen Vasquez even if you spell it wrong, and all my stuff will probably come up. That's just how it goes because I've been doing it for a while. You can also find me on Instagram. Send me a DM if you have questions. Again, put the questions down below. I will come back here in YouTube and answer questions as well. And in the resources, you have everything from a Pinterest analyzer, which means that you can basically write down all of your analytics each month and it gets a form. It's a Google Docs, Google spreadsheet. And then it's got call to action, 80 different calls to action you can use on pins. It's got free pin templates. It's got the keyword builder. It's got everything in there. And this is all for free because I truly believe that every single person should be on Pinterest.
Isn't she incredible? Thank you so much, Jen, for your education, for your time, and just for sharing your passion for Pinterest with us. I hope this
It
lights a fire under some people.
it is my pleasure and I promise you won't regret doing Pinterest. You just won't regret it. It'll drive traffic for free.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I would love to know your number one takeaway from what Jen shared. Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about marketing your health and wellness business for free, be sure to check out this video and subscribe for new videos each week. See you next time.